Hi, in this video, we want to take a look at one way that we can easily get stock data into R. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take advantage of the BatchGetSymbols package and use the BatchGetSymbols function. Okay, so what this does is that when I call this function, R is going to go, it's going to connect with Yahoo Finance. It's going to find the stock for the ticker that I give, and then it's going to pull the data for the dates I specify. All right, so let's go a little bit deeper into this. And so first thing I need to do, I need to specify which tickers I'm interested in. So here are some examples. Now I need to specify the first date that I want. So by default, it's going to go and it's going to take today's date minus 30 will be our first date. And then our last date will be today's date by default. And so the sys.date is today's date as it's recorded inside our machine. All right, so if I'm in a different time zone, let's say I'm over the international date line, things can be a little bit different, but generally it's going to be just the date of where you're at. Now, one thing that this function will do for us, if it starts detecting bad data at a certain threshold, it won't accept it. And so the default is bad data at 3/4. Like, don't give it to us because it's better to have no information than bad information. Now, the bench ticker is which market do we want to use as our reference. Okay, so the default for this one is SP 500 US market. And here is how we specify that. Now, the type of return, the default is arithmetic, so just regular numbers, but we can also go with logarithms. And then the frequency can be daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly as we choose. Now, when I run the function, I'm going to get a bunch of information back. And what it's going to do, so here it indicates, was it able to successfully connect with Yahoo's server for the market? And then it's going to go line by line and specify for each ticker that I gave, did it get the data successfully? Now, if let's say I incorrectly enter the ticker up here. So if in the original function call, I put in some letters that are not connected to an actual stock, what it will do, it will give me an error message in this line, but it will give me everything else, which is nice. But we want to go through and we want to check. So here, this just gives an indication of like how many stocks I was going for, and it gives me an indication if things went the way I wanted to. And so what will happen if let's say I put in something that's not available, it will state an error, and that way I'll have feedback knowing that I don't have something that I actually was trying to get. All right, so now what does our output look like? Well, there's two aspects to our output. The first one just tells us about what we got back metadata wise and the performance of what's going on. The other one is the actual data we're interested in. All right, so we can see that when I look at the data frame for the tickers, we have the opening price, the high, the low, the closing, the volume, the price adjusted, the date that we're talking about, the actual ticker, and then adjusted prices and closing prices. All right, so now one thing to notice is that here I only have one ticker present in each row. All right, so if I look down just a little bit lower, so this is the first 6 rows of the data that we got back. This is the last 6 rows, and you'll see that WINSF was the first ticker I asked for, and CCL was the last one I asked for. It's in the order that we requested. Now, you'll notice that this is in long format. This format is very good for some applications. It's not very good for others. And so one of the things that we're going to need to be able to do later down the road in future videos is take this data and format it in a way that works for the project that I'm working on. Right now, if I want to do a quick, easy visualization, this is exactly the format I want for ggplot. And this is why the output is in this format. So let's go ahead and just plot the closing price. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take ggplot. So I call ggplot2, that's the name of the package. And then I get the function. I specify the data. Here, this just means mapping. AES just means mapping. Here is my X coordinates, my Y coordinates. I'm saying, give me a line of values. And then this just says, break it up by different tickers. Now let's take a look. All right, so here we have the stocks for these 8 tickers, for the last year. All right, so I mean, this is pretty quick, pretty easy that I got something out from this. And so I can easily rerun this code over and over and over to get updates, or if I want to, I can change things. Now, what else do I get from BatchGetSymbols? Well, if I look at the actual structure, if I use the structure commands on my outputs, I can see that there's a data frame for control and there's a data frame for tickers. So the one for tickers is the one we've already looked at. That's the actual data we want. The control aspect, what this is doing is that this is telling us which tickers we got, our source, download status, the total observations that we got. So here we were pulling over 365 days, but we only got 252 days back. And the percent of benchmark dates, and then threshold decision is to keep it. All right, and this relates to that bad data aspect. All right, so we can look at it a little bit in a little bit easier format, and that we can see just how it's recorded. And so really this, if everything's going well, I don't care about this part, honestly. If I get my data, I got what I was looking for, I'm not going to worry about this. But if I'm having problems, if I'm unsure about my outputs, then I'll definitely want to take a look at this and see where the problems went. Now, there are other functions and there are other ways to get stock data. Like this one, I only have the option of going after Yahoo Finance. There are other functions in R that will grab, like, let's say from Google or Yahoo. And in future videos, we'll start taking advantage of how to use this data set. All right, well, that's all I've got for you. Take care and goodbye.